All right, today we got my wife's new to her 2018 Ford Edge. We're going to be putting Curt wiring adapter in. You can't hook directly to the tail lights on these cars for a trailer hitch wiring, so you have to install that adapter. It has one power lead that goes up to the battery, and the rest of it goes out to the back and sources off the tail lights. Tail lights are pretty easy to remove. There's a little cover here you take out with a pick, and then there's a little bolt in there, and then all you have to do is grab them and pull straight out and they come out. Then you'll see on this side I got a head start. There's a wiring connector in there, and these are a piggy tail, so it looks like you're gonna have to, I don't know if you guys can see down there, but you'll have to connect it from the little Christmas tree is what I call them, and then you can pull the harness up enough to connect it. I saw some reports, people were saying there wasn't enough space in there. It is tight. It's definitely very, very tight, but I think you can make it work. Also in the middle of a teardown on the old dirty truck. Unfortunately, after a little bit of a high RPM burnout, one of the lifters collapsed. I've had issues with this lifter from the beginning. A lot of guys have it. They're Lunati lifters, but they're actually by Morel. It's stuck down. These guys are like, oh, adjusted this much. I'm not doing it. I'm replacing them. I'm going to put a solid lifter in, and I'm going to call it done. I'd rather adjust lifters every once in a while than deal with the issues with these cheap Chinese-made hydraulics. And it's just, I'm going to yank the engine out and do it right, because even though these heads have the cutout on an 8.2 deck small block Ford, you cannot get link bar lifters out without pulling the heads off. So if I'm pulling the heads off, I'm gonna pull it all out, maybe shave the heads for a little bit more compression, go over the bottom end, make sure everything's good to go for the next season, and reseal it all and throw it back in. I don't expect to find anything. The oil and filters have been cleaned, but you never know. So we'll get started on this and move on. Hopefully, I have a hitch on the way, but Amazon keeps pushing it back, so I'm gonna try and get it done, and hopefully it shows up today and I can finish everything while I got it up. We also did get the lift up. We got the lights wired. We got our outlets. New shop is up and running, and away we go. All right, I was going to time lapse it all as I worked on it, but I didn't figure you guys wanted to see me bending down, reading the instructions, routing wiring for a long time. I'm just going to go over a couple of the highlights. They want you to pull this back panel out and pull this panel out so you can route it through these grommets and store the box inside. I've seen people do it on the outside, but the inside's definitely better. I don't know how weather sealed that box is. Some of the negatives, they could have definitely done a little better job, added a second plug instead of having to cut the grommet as wide as they did, leaving the wiring harness 10 feet too long. If they would have put it in two sections that go up here and here, it wouldn't have been near as much of a pain pulling the harnesses up with two plugs on it, because it's very tight in there. If they would have just left a connection down at the bottom, it would have cut the job time in half and been a nicer job to do. Overall, I've tested it. It does work. So, I mean, all I have to do is wait for Amazon to quit playing around and ship me the hitch, and I can move on. But overall, like I said, not a terrible job. Just a few things to watch out for. And even though this car only has 25,000 miles on it, being a northern car, some of the fasteners are very rusty. So you might have seen me under there with a wire wheel cleaning the fasteners off. That's a good way to get them off without twisting them off, because if they break loose, tighten up, they'll snap off. So if you wire wheel them and spray a little WD-40 or some kind of penetrant on them, they'll come off. Other than that, man, stay tuned and I'll bring you the next one. All right, part two for our Ford Edge. I got a draw tight hitch we're gonna put on there. It's part number 75214. It fits a 2018 Ford Edge. They give you pretty good directions. All the hardware is there. Doesn't look like it'll be too bad of a job. I already got started. They give you the wires, you thread around the bolts, and you also put like a T-bar inside. That's how you're able to torque it, because it locks against the frame rail. So you put that inside. You also do have to lower the exhaust. Spray some WD-40 or something on it. You can see how you just pulled it here. What they want you to do is enlarge this. I don't like cutting the frames in PA, cutting through the rust proofing. Yeah, you could paint it, or you could simply grind a little bit off this edge and it'll slip right in. That's what I did. So we'll get the other part done and we'll go from there. All right, we got it all installed. They want you to cut this off. I just decided I'd rather keep it. So I didn't want this flapping, so I just cut it back to give you a recess. Lube these up, WD-40 or something like that. Put them in. They give you a nice little spot to zip tie your wiring harness. It tucks up nicely. They give you a torque on the fasteners of about 75 foot-pounds. So really, not a terrible install. Seems like it'll work pretty good. We'll find out this weekend for us, but we'll go from there. Thanks for watching, guys.